y'all, this is Granger, and she's really excited to talk to you about some books today. So you met Granger. My name is Cassie. My husband and I, Jeremy, run Turkish Candle Company. He's sitting in the corner, like judging me a little bit for this, but that's okay. I decided that this year I'm going to find a few more creative outlets because candles was my creative outlet, is my creative outlet, but it's just very busy and very time consuming. So I was like, let me do something that's just like a little bit more fun. So here I am, and I'm going to tell you all about some of the books I read in January. So here we go. So in January I read 4 books, which doesn't really seem like a lot, but like if I look back on my reading for the last maybe 3 or 4 months of 2018, I was reading like 1, maybe half a book. So this is pretty good for me. So the first book I read was The Snow Child by Eowyn Ivy. And first of all, let's just appreciate the cover for a second. Is it not so whimsical? Spoiler, not really, loved this book. This book takes place in Alaska in the 1920s. And it's about this couple who can't have children, or they've had 1 miscarriage. And the wife just decides that she wants a new life, she wants a new adventure. And so she convinces her husband to move to Alaska. They build a snowman one night, and the next morning, it's actually a snow child. And the next morning they wake up and it's gone. And they start seeing this girl in the woods. So that's basically the premise of it. It was kind of magical realism-y. I guess that's an adjective. And I don't like magical realism at all. I loved this book so much. I think it was because I'm really hot. I don't normally like magical realism books, but there was just something different about this one. I just loved it. It was amazing. So good. This is actually our January book club pick. So 6 of us read it, and I believe everyone rated it like between 3 and 5 stars. We really liked it. About half of us didn't like the ending. I liked it from start to finish, but I think points are valid for why people didn't like the ending. But I highly recommend this book, especially in the winter when it's cold. It was just the perfect January read. So the second book I read in January was Deathless by Catherine. Oh no, I don't know how to say her last name. I think it's Valenti. You guys can just read it. I've actually tried to read one of her other books. The Girl Who Circumnavigated. It's hard to say. The Girl Who The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making. Very long title. It had kind of like Alice in Wonderland vibes, where it like sort of things like didn't really make sense. Oh my word, it's kind of like this one, but this is really good. Actually, as I was reading this book, I described it to someone as having a little bit of like Alice in Wonderland, like things aren't really making sense. Is this a dream? Is this not? You know, that kind of vibe. But let me tell you what it's about. I looked up how to say this word, and I could very well say it incorrectly. I think it's Cochet. Cochet the Deathless is what this book is about. And he's like, I'm just now starting to get into Russian folklore. I've read, actually, The Snow Child is Russian folklore based. And there's a few other books like Spinning Silver and Uprooted that I've read. So forgive me if I'm incorrect. But as far as I can tell, Cochet the Deathless is basically one of like the supervillains of Russian folklore. So there's Baba Yaga, which most of us have heard of. She's the one in the house with the chicken feet. I know way more about her than I do about Cochet the Deathless. This is my first book about him, but I don't want to spoil anything here. I'm going to make sure. It's a human bride. No, that might not be right. Cochet the Deathless spots this human girl. Her name's Maria, I believe is how you say it. I said Gur. This human Gur. So this is basically the author's, I'm not going to try to say her name again, Catherine. This is her take on the old folklore of Cochet the Deathless. And I'm not sure, I don't know the original story, but she modernized it a little bit, so it's taking place, I live by a main road, so you're getting your sirens. So basically, Cochet the Deathless, who's this immortal, almost like a god or a czar, spots this human girl named Maria Morevna, I believe it is. Yeah, she's a human girl, a daughter of the Russian Revolution, And basically, he spots her, he falls in love with her, wants to marry her, and she goes away with him into this new world. That's kind of all I'm going to say because I went into this pretty blind and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 3 stars. There was just some real, it was dark, and I don't have an issue with dark books, but it was like kind of graphically dark in some ways and a little bit abusive. And maybe that's the point of the folklore. I don't really know a ton of like the origins and what his original story is like. So maybe that's what it was supposed to be. It was like a little bit disturbing in some parts, but I really, really enjoyed it. About until maybe 2/3 of the way through, it was like a 5-star read for me. I lowered it to 3 just because I'm a sensitive little soul and it made me kind of sad. But all in all, really good book. If you're into Russian folklore, I definitely recommend it because, again, as far as I can tell, crochet is kind of like someone you need to know about. Forgive me if I'm saying crochet wrong again. I don't know how to say it. Oh, and also, Deathless has come highly recommended by Nat from Alchemy and Ink and Tess from Paperback Bones on Instagram. Alchemy and Ink is the best candle company. I'm going to show you a candle from her. If you're still waiting somehow, I'm sure everyone's gotten it at this point. Your Revolutions and Retellings box from her, look away because this is a spoiler. But this is one of her candles. The box is all based on Russian folklore. This was one of her candles, the Steric King, which is from Spinning Silver. So I just want to give a shout out to Nat because she's the best. And in that box was a ton of Deathless merch, which I'm so happy I have. A cup, a blanket, I think a pin. So, Nat's the best. Here we go. I love this book. So the 3rd book I read in January was Nevermore, The Trials of Morrigan Crow. So this is the first book in a new-ish middle grade series. There's 2 books out now. I'm actually reading the 2nd one this month in February. I'm filming this in February, a little bit late. But, so basically this is about Morrigan Crow, who was born on the unluckiest day of the year. And she basically is cursed to die on her 11th birthday, I believe. Yeah, her 11th birthday. But the last minute she's swept away to this new world, this new magical world, which is amazing. Part of me wants to say I'd rather go to Nevermore than to Hogwarts. But maybe not. Hogwarts is just a little bit too stuffy for me. This is fun. This book was recommended to me by actually another YouTuber named Zoe. Her YouTube channel is Zoe Reads. I'm going to link it in the description below so you guys can just click it, subscribe to her. She's awesome. This book has been described and compared to Harry Potter, and I think it's partly because of the magical world, but also I think it's because of just like the feeling it gives you, the feeling of like magic and wonder. And I read this so quickly. I think it's almost 500 pages. Here's my kitty. It's almost 500 pages, and I read it in about 3 sittings, which is pretty quick for me. I would highly, highly recommend it. I give it 5 stars, and I've heard the 2nd one's even better, which I'm not sure how. But so super good. You can even tell by the cover that it's just so fun. So if you're into middle grade, if you're into magic, pick this one up. The last book I read in January, I read in 1 sitting because I had read so many books already, and I was like, gonna do this one, was The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon, I believe. Yes. I know this is a lot of people's favorite book. I read it because it's one of my good friend Nyara's favorite book, and she's reading my favorite book, which is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. Highly recommend, but it's not about that. So The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime is told from the perspective of a boy who has, he's on the spectrum in some way, and it's so intriguing. He kind of writes out graphs and things like that to help explain what he means and what he's thinking. I'm going to try to find one here really quick. Basically, the whole story is about him trying to figure out who killed a dog in the neighborhood. Here's an idea of some graphs that he uses to explain it. He wants to be a detective, and he wants to solve who killed this dog. I think it's his next door neighbor's dog. And the cover has a cool little cutout here. which is awesome. So the main character, Christian, nope, his name's Christopher. I really, really enjoyed reading from the perspective of Christopher, from the perspective of someone on the spectrum. You learn all different things about him, like he loves prime numbers, which actually the book is, instead of having normal chapter numbers, all the chapter numbers are prime numbers. So it goes from like 1 to 3 to 5. It ends at like 100 and something, 200 something. He hates the color yellow, just all these different things that just make him so unique. We can cut it there. I gave this book 4 stars. It was really enjoyable. It was really informative and eye-opening, and I would definitely recommend it. So many people love it. Most of you have honestly probably already read this, but super wonderful. I'm glad that Nyara recommended it for me to read. So thanks, Nyara. Super good. This is my ending. So these are all the books that I read in January. I'm very proud. It feels so good to hold them all right here. It's been a long time since I've read 4 books, which is, I know that probably sounds crazy to some people. I used to read so much more before I had a full-time job, before I had a candle company. All good. I think it was, yeah, all 3 stars and up. 2 5-star reads this month. I'm super proud. But I will see you all soon with what I'm going to be reading in February. So thanks for watching.